Hey guys, wanted to take a minute to do a video regarding Zealots. Now if you go all the way back to Layne video log like 5, I did a couple of video logs called Don't Be a Zealot. And this stems from, I did an interview critiquing the documentary What the Health, and got a lot of backlash from vegans. And the unfortunate thing is, if you watch my criticism, I never actually criticize veganism. I don't call vegans, names. I don't claim that veganism is terrible or anything like that. I criticize the claims made by What the Health that were not scientifically accurate. Unfortunately, people can't separate me criticizing What the Health from Layne hates veganism. Not true. I actually admire vegans for certain things. It is not personally something I choose to do, but if somebody feels ethically like they don't want to eat animals, it's not my job to criticize them for that. I think that's an admirable thing. Now, unfortunately, through our culture, especially in the fitness industry, encourages zealotism. And I think a lot of it boils down to people want to feel validated for their choices. And they also want to feel like they belong to something. So we have this across several groups. We have ketogenic diet zealots. We have carb-backloading zealots. We have intermittent fasting zealots. We have fasting zealots. We have vegan zealots. Pretty much any kind of, we have IIFYM zealots. I'll admit it. So I think being a zealot and is really one of the worst things you can possibly do. It means you're not thinking for yourself. Thinking for yourself always involves questioning, what do I believe and does it make sense based with current data I have? Unfortunately, a lot of people get their quote-unquote data from documentaries and articles. I want to be very clear. Documentaries have absolutely no incentive to tell you the truth. Their only incentive is to get you to watch. If you watch What the Health, and I'm just using it as an example because it's the only documentary I watched, and I had to watch it because we're going to review it for Avatar. I would have chosen not to watch it. I didn't watch Fed Up. I didn't watch Forks Over Knives. I choose not to watch that garbage. But it was constructed with the same themes as a horror movie. They wanted to scare you. The goal is to scare you. They want a reaction, a gut reaction, a visceral reaction. If they don't get that, then it's not going to be talked about. If they say something like, if you want to eat this way, it has these benefits, but there's these downsides, and it's really up to personal choice. Nobody's going to watch that. They're going to watch the one that says, dairy is racist, or institutionalized racism, and cheese activates the same receptors as heroin, and all these kind of outlandish claims. By the way, there was a recent analysis done on What the Health, and 96% of the studies they cited didn't meet the claims that What the Health made. So, unfortunately, it's easy to throw a study and say, this study said this. Did you actually read the study? So, the unfortunate thing is that goes for any group. What I think is funny is I have vegans breathing down my neck right now. But, 6 months ago, it was the low-carb keto zealots that were breathing down my neck. And it's very funny if you actually watch my videos on ketogenic dieting. I don't say that ketogenic dieting is bad. I say that it's not, for fat loss, it's not superior. And if you look at the data, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. Compared to a calorie, there is no metabolic advantage to a ketogenic diet. Unfortunately, what I say and what zealots hear is a completely different thing. I'll give you an example. I posted this study on Twitter that showed that there was no metabolic advantage to ketogenic dieting. And somebody responded and said, well, that's not true. Ketogenic diets work. I lost 50 pounds on a ketogenic diet. Well, I didn't say they didn't work. What I said was they aren't better. Unfortunately, when you're a zealot, when you are basically a part of a cult, or essentially a religion, when you hear that something isn't the best thing ever, or when somebody says that something isn't the best thing ever, what you hear is that person hates this thing and I'm going to attack them. That is not true. I mean, I've even gotten away from, I'm guilty of it when I was younger. Absolutely I was. For the most part, why can't people eat how they want to eat? If somebody wants to eat ketogenic dieting, I'm not going to try and turn them away from that. I'll make sure they understand the pluses and minuses of that, but that's their decision. Who am I to tell them how to eat? If somebody wants to eat, you know what? If somebody wants to eat like garbage, if somebody wants to eat terribly, who am I to tell them how to eat? Now, if they complain about health problems, elevated blood sugar, all these, some different problems, well, then I'm going to get on them a little bit, because it's like, well, you can't have this without this, right? But for the most part, why are we being judgmental towards how people choose to live their lives? As long as it's not harming you, you should not make a judgment on somebody else for how they choose to live their life. I have friends who are vegans. I have friends who do ketogenic dieting. One of my good friends, Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, is one of the biggest proponents of ketogenic dieting on the planet. Dom and I sit down, we chat, we talk science, talk about each other's lives, and there's no animosity. Amazing how that works when two people are intelligent and scientists. But unfortunately, people can't disconnect the two. So somebody sees Dom, who's a vegan, and they'll go, oh, he's got to be a scumbag because he's promoting eating meat. He must be funded by the meat industry. So where a ketogenic diet or anti-sugar zealot will look at a vegan who eats carbohydrates, and they'll say, you're contributing to the type 2 diabetes in society and cancer because sugar fuels cancer. And it basically boils down to a dick measuring contest. The fact of the matter is, we know most of these data that these different groups cite is correlational, very weak, and in most cases skewed to present their diet as being the cure-all. Okay? If you look at the actual data, we only know a few things. What we know for sure, well, the consensus in the scientific community, what we know relatively confident is that creating a caloric deficit seems to have health benefits in terms of longevity, in terms of type 2 diabetes, in terms of cancer, all these different types of heart disease, okay? How you create that caloric deficit seems to be of far less importance. And people, especially ketogenic diet people, want to make it, it's all about the hormones and insulin and this. A hormonal response to a caloric surplus or deficit will never supersede the surplus or deficit, i.e. if you are in a surplus but your insulin is low, it doesn't mean that it's not negatively contributing towards your health. If you're in a deficit but you're having some insulin responses, it doesn't mean it's negative. And in fact, caloric deficit, caloric output or burn responds far less to hormones than hormones respond to a caloric surplus or deficit. Okay? The surplus or deficit tends to drive the hormones rather than the other way around. We know to create a caloric deficit or control calories over the course of lifetime. I don't want to make people who are trying to put on muscle and they're in a caloric surplus think they're going to get cancer or whatever. That's not necessarily true. If you're just controlling calories and you're exercising, that makes a huge difference. So we know control calories and be in a deficit at least part of your life, exercise regularly, Amongst that, how you create the caloric deficit seems to be much less important. So if you want to intermittent fast, you want a ketogenic diet, you want to be vegan, whatever helps you create that calorie deficit is far, far, far less important than actually creating it. And as far as people who, why do you feel the need? I'm not anti-keto, I'm not anti-intermittent fasting, I'm not anti-carb-backloading, I'm not anti-sugar, I'm not anti-anything, I'm anti-bullshit. Okay, and I'm anti-misrepresenting science because your particular group of zealots feels the need to be validated by twisting scientific data to serve their purpose. Okay, I'll tell you what that's called. That's called insecurity, and it's called being fucking weak. All right? If you wouldn't want to eat a certain way, then just eat that way. Why do you need to twist the science to fit what you feel is best for you? Just do it. If you want to be a vegan, just be a vegan. If you want to do ketogenic, just do ketogenic. Why do you need to twist science to make it better, to make it seem like it's some cure-all? That's because you're insecure and you feel the need to belong to something. It's a tribe mentality. Great for business, terrible for science. So, exercise, create a caloric deficit. After you get through that, a little bit higher protein diet seems like it has some benefits towards satiety and as well as metabolic rate and preservation of lean muscle mass. And then higher fiber seems to definitely have a positive benefit, especially on colon cancer and satiety. So that's the basics. I'm not saying there aren't some things, everything's a trade-off. There's certain foods that have certain benefits, there's all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if something makes a small difference on your health, sometimes the bigger difference is, how does it make you feel? Is it healthy to eat a slice of cheesecake once a week? I don't know. But if it stops you from being a freaking nut job and obsessing about food, well, maybe it is healthier because your mental health plays into it as well. There are so many variables that go into nutrition that it's not just physiological, but also psychological, cultural, social. So what I would say to you is, however you choose to eat is fine. Don't be a religious extremist. Don't feel the need to convert people to the way you eat. If you want to promote the way you eat, that's fine. But don't look down on somebody for eating a certain way. And don't badger or belittle or, try to basically bully them into eating your way. I've been guilty of this in the past. Hopefully I'm older and wiser now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video log. If you enjoyed the video log, make sure you click the like button, click the share button, and subscribe. Alright guys, I'll catch you next time.